Gentlemen, we've got a great story here. We're at Imagery Wine, which does something really unique and different in its angle that it chose to create its wines on. It is really different, sort of breaking the mold. Did you have any involvement in the world of wine prior to this?
Never. And my idea of wine was what I experienced in college, which was you buy the jug wine and you mix in a bottle of vodka with it, and then that was the drink of the day.
Okay, then.
And I had no experience in the art field.
So when Joey said, well, we'd like you to make a label, I said, great. So I started researching wine labels. I didn't know anything about it. And I thought, no one's ever done an image that goes from one bottle to another. And just to be safe, I said, let's go over 3 bottles. So in order to get the whole painting, you had to buy 3 bottles of the wine.
Clever marketing.
Well, it wasn't meant that way. It was just to do something unusual. And then when the guys saw it, they said, wow, we should box this up as a group.
It was a production nightmare because at that time we were a young winery and, we had our whole family on the bottling line. And to, put the right label on each bottle and have them, create that
triptych, so every third one they had to
painting.
Figure out which one went in between the other one.
It was a nightmare, but it worked, and we sold out. It was a beautiful piece of artwork, and the wine was really good. So, at that point, it started to evolve, and we started to include other artists.
So we could invite lots of different artists to do things, but as long as everybody included the little Parthenon, then the collection would make sense.
We'd ask our winemakers to bring in, varietals that they were interested in, and we would do little experimental lots. So we decided to start including those varietals that were unusual, unique, that weren't your traditional, wines like Cabernet or Chardonnay in the imagery program.
An example of some of those rare varietals would be?
Petit Verdot, which is a Bordeaux blending varietal, Cabernet Francs, Malbecs. Trousseau is another varietal that we made back then.
Where were you getting the vines from?
From just, little growers around the state. Some had these bigger vineyards, but they had experimental blocks of grapes in their vineyard, and they would want to sell them to us. And
at that point in time, you're experimenting with all these wines, but out of Benzinger.
Out of Benzinger.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And we created a little following. In fact, it started to sell as well as the Glen Ellen and some of the Benzinger wines we were selling out of the tasting room.
So they needed a label for each one, and every time they needed more labels, I got more excited.
We decided to invest in this piece of property. It became the perfect location for imagery. We have done a good job developing wines that people want to discover that maybe are new grape varietals that they haven't tried before.
That's why I like Joey. He doesn't like those normal things.
Enough about my wines. How about the artwork now?
I felt that it would be unique if people came into the tasting room and said, so what's the next label going to be?
So, the artwork is big. It's a big sales item for us.
This is totally to Joey's credit, is that I like to think that we saddle people because of the images, but they won't come back unless the wine's good.
So that's what makes a great partnership. It's you get them buying the wine, and then you keep them coming back.